What is up, y'all? And welcome back to episode 22 of That's No Moon Pod. Fresh off of just watching episode 7, season 3 of The Mandalorian, and I definitely got a whole lot of thoughts, give y'all my reaction and review, finally get a story driven with also a good amount of action and visuals, and also some funny comedic moments from Grogu as well. I also want to get into some of the other news that I didn't discuss in the Star Wars Celebration episode, episode 21. There was just a couple of things that got announced that next day with the Bad Batch and Star Wars Visions, but I really just want to talk about Mandalorian this episode. Finally, after last week's weird Alice in Wonderland, strange Lizzo Jack Black episode, we jumped straight into this one with Coruscant and the probe droid hologram with Moff Gideon, and we kind of see what he's been doing behind the scenes with this new secretive Empire operations with all these different types of leaders and ex-Imperials, and just like the way this episode started off was something that this season has definitely been missing. We've all been kind of waiting to see when Moff Gideon's going to show his face, when they're going to throw in some Thrawn references, and they kind of hit you right away when we see Moff Gideon in his new gear that he's got on. Has like this whole new headquarters with these like Imperial Mandalorian types, and they're just all in these waiting areas while he's walking by, and you see like these, it looks like cloning test tubes behind him as he's walking towards the hologram meeting. And just the way Moff Gideon just carries himself as a character in the show, you just like can feel his presence. I really like his character design and just what he brings to the show, and what the show has kind of been missing this season is that big bad looming over everybody and everything, and always having a plan and doing whatever it takes to accomplish whatever it is he's seeking out. And you could tell from right here that the remnants of the Empire are still they're still struggling, but they're not giving up. They don't want to give up their power, and they believe that there's a lot of people in the galaxy that still support them and are willing to give their lives to the Empire, even though the Empire has fallen with the Emperor. Each one of these ex-Imperial leaders each want a slice of the pie when it comes to rebuilding this whole new empire. And that's when they throw in Thrawn in the mix, saying how he has this big plan, he has this big mission that he's setting on right now. And Moff Gideon's like, well, where is he? Where's he been? I keep hearing about Thrawn, but yet I'm the one over here making moves, trying to take down the Mandalorians, get my Darksaber back, and Thrawn's over here just all talk from what I can see. And all the other leaders in the hologram chat are just all willing to give Moff Gideon what he needs to defeat the Mandalorians, including, I guess it's General Hux's dad in the hologram meeting talking to Moff Gideon. That was pretty cool to see them kind of throw in that little reference from the sequel trilogy with Hux. And you kind of just see, where Hux, where we see him in the sequel trilogy, kind of where he gets that, where he just gets his whole persona from his dad, and his dad being so early in on the rebuild of the Empire, and then seeing where Hux finds himself later on with leading the First Order is pretty crazy. But I just really dug the opening scene. I liked what it set up. And from here we start to follow the Mandalorians, and it was cool. Right whenever we get, you see that we're back on Navarro, and you see the ship flying over Navarro, and Greef Karga's looking at it in the sky, and it looks like an Imperial ship, but it has like a Mandalorian painted underneath the ship, and it's just flying over this big ship flying over this city. And just the visuals in this episode were just top notch, from the cinematography, and just the CGI I thought was done really well, even though you could tell that in certain scenes that they were definitely on the volume, and you could start to really tell that, when they're recording on the volume, or if they're actually on location somewhere. Hopefully in season 4 they kind of are able to make them mesh better together, and kind of make it to where it seems like you can't really notice as much anymore, because sometimes you could tell they rely on the volume a lot, or at least too much. But it wasn't anything too jarring or anything at all. Like I said, I thought the visuals and the CGI were awesome in this episode. And seeing all the Bo-Katan's crew rolling deep with their whole fleet, where the Mandalorians were camped out on Navarro, and you just know there's going to be some kind of beef once they land. And sure enough, Paz Vizsla is having a stare down with homeboy that Bo-Katan fought, and they're all just trying to cool things down, and they know that there's a bigger mission that they're gonna have to go on together. And once they kind of have their camp out, and Bo-Katan goes over what the plan is and asks for volunteers on this mission, it's just crazy to see all these Mandalorians all in one spot. It's just, they all look different with their own different colors and armor schemes, and seeing it in live action is just, it's a cool visual on screen. And I think Bo-Katan, Katie Sackhoff, is killing it as the kind of just leader of this pack, and she's doing a good job of like commanding and trying to recruit and gather all these different Mandalorians from different sections of the galaxy together, and come together for this one big mission to take back their homeland on Mandalore. I really thought Katie Sackhoff did a real good job, like she has been ever since she came into the show. And one of the funny parts of this episode was when Greef Karga tells Mando that the IG droid is done, so they go to his office with Grogu, and that Babu Frick animal creature is like operating the IG droid while inside him in like this little compartment in his chest, so where the IG unit isn't functional on its own, but it's more of a vehicle, is what Greef Karga says. And just seeing Grogu interact with that Babu Frick puppet is just funny. I really like when they use like the puppet masters like that and kind of make it feel like the original trilogy with Yoda. I think if it's done right, and just like how CGI is, to where it doesn't take you out of it when you see it, that it's obviously either a puppet or a CGI. I think they used these Babu Frick and Yoda puppets just enough to where it doesn't seem jarring at all. I'm sure there's some people that kind of takes them out of it, and they would just rather have like a CGI Babu Frick or something, but I like the way they move, and I think it kind of adds to their character as a species. And when Grogu hops in there and he's saying yes and no to Mando, kind of just disobeying him and wanting to do what he wants, since he can clearly handle that IG droid by himself, no problem. That was just a whole funny scene with them going through the town, and Grogu's just wreaking havoc on the street vendors with the food, and Mando's just trying to play dad and keep his kid under control, but can never really quite fully do that. It was just a cool moment between them, and from there on, we kind of go straight into what the whole episode is mainly about, to where the whole crew, it's time to go to Mandalore once all the volunteers volunteer to go on this mission with Bo-Katan. That some of these people, some of these Mandalorians have been here before on the planet, and some have just only heard stories, like the ones that were rolling with Mando. But it's cool to see these different sectors of Mandalorians coming together finally on their home planet to take over and succeed at this mission. But you just know something's gonna happen, right? Like, you're just kind of waiting for it now, especially since getting that whole Moff Gideon opening scene. I was just kind of waiting for it, and I like what they did though with, once they land on the planet and they're looking for the underground and trying to look for the forge and whatnot, they stumble upon those Mandalorians that stayed on Mandalore and kind of have been trying to survive and get by on their own. They're kind of like these forgotten warriors of Mandalore, and they're just out here trying to survive, and they willingly offer their services to Bo-Katan because they know who she is. And obviously they probably see the Darksaber that she's got, and once they're rolling with them and Bo-Katan and Mando, they kind of have this good scene where he goes out on the dock and or on the ship, and kind of has a word with her and tells her that he's got her back. He'll serve her until the end because he trusts her. And I think now at this point she for sure trusts him and isn't trying to play no games with anyone here. She's kind of fully accepted her role as the leader of the pack, and once she kind of gives her apologies for surrendering to Moff Gideon back in the day, and that's how we find out to how Moff Gideon ended up with the Darksaber in the first place. And she kind of put herself out there and was open with the crew, and I think they all kind of respected that, and that just kind of earned more of their trust towards her. And once they get close to the forge or whatever underground, again, like this, they have like a bunch of these creatures in this season so far, or just in general with the Mandalorian. They have a lot of these big CGI creatures popping out, and this one was really cool to see. Like I was saying earlier with the CGI, them having to abandon the ship real quick and take cover, and that lands them straight into underground with the forge. And right here, that's when kind of something's gonna happen. And in come in these Moff Gideon Mandalorian armored plated stormtroopers types. It's just like Imperial Mandalorians, pretty much, who serve Moff Gideon. And they got the jetpacks, they got the Beskar, and they're ambushing the crew. And then once they start kind of flying away, it kind of started, you could tell they're like running away, but it's a trap, right? They're like setting them up. And as they're like running through, they're taking them all out, and they're running through the tunnels, and then you start to kind of see like, looks like an Imperial base, like with the walls and the doors as they're running through, and they're kind of just paying attention to them flying off. But then that's when they get trapped with the door shut, and then Moff Gideon shows up, and he's got his dope blacked out with red Imperial Mandalorian armor. Kind of looks like some old school like Death Watch helmet with like the horns or the spikes on his helmet. But just the way he entered in, and you see all the X-wings and the just kind of his own secret base on Mandalore, to where he's got a bunch of his artillery and all these new toys. And once you see Mando trapped outside on his own, and they capture him easily, you're just like, oh crap, here we go. This is gonna be what they're gonna have to do in the last episode, try to save him. But Moff Gideon, just like a typical old school villain, he lays out his entire plan, telling everyone what he plans on doing. Just kind of lays it all out there because he feels like he can't be beaten. And once they take Mando and they're gonna have him as a hostage, I was wondering, because as soon as the Forger took off with those injured Mandalorians that they found earlier, I was like, oh man, they're gonna catch up with the fleet. But Moff Gideon's got this help from all the rest of the Imperial leaders, who gave him backup and extra artillery to fight the Mandalorians. So they're going to be having some kind of space battle in the next episode while things are going on down on the planet. And once we see them take Mando away, Moff Gideon and Bo-Katan just have like that standoff, and she runs back, makes a hole in the wall with the Darksaber, and they all start to fall back, but Paz Vizsla stays back and kind of just gives them more cover, because he knows that there's too much, and he just wants to make sure that everyone else gets away. And this was a cool fight, even though sadly he eats it at the end. He fought off all those troopers pretty well with the Mandalorian armor, but then here comes the kind of like the Imperial Guard type deals with the Emperor with the red armor, and they've got like these electro purple blades, and that's when you know it's just over for him. And but it was just a cool visual to see them walk in and them kind of take him out, and you know he was willing to make that sacrifice for the Mandalorians and for the bigger picture of the mission. And you know they're not gonna like that. You know they're gonna want, you know, revenge for their guy because he was one of the main guys of the crew. And he had a kid, man. So it's like, you know, that kid's gonna grow up and, you know, have kind of like that, probably that Jango Fett about him or something, you know, or hopefully they could get him to where he could use that anger he has for, you know, the people that killed his dad and use it to be a better Mandalorian and probably be a leader one day. But I just like how they set everything up for the season finale. I just wish they would have done a little bit more throughout and kind of given us more of this kind of stuff. Because it kind of feels like, you know, once you finally get this type of episode so late, you're just like, man, finally, right? But, I mean, better late than never. Hopefully next week's episode is at least an hour long. I like the length of this one. But hopefully next week for sure is at least an hour. So they could really just kind of flesh everything out and kind of see where we're going to be going into with the next season probably and what's to come. But really enjoyed the episode overall. I think most people will like this episode too. I'm sure some people will still find something to not like about it or critique about, but I think for sure probably the best episode of the season so far. We just gotta wait to see what they bring the season finale, because with the Mandalorian, something crazy always happens at the end. They always leave us on a big cliffhanger with something, and I'm sure they're not going to disappoint with the season finale next week. I'm excited. This episode got me super pumped for it. It just sucks it's going to be the end until, you know, we get Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew and all that, which won't be too far away. But, yeah, hopefully they give us something pretty sweet next week. And hopefully the episode's at least an hour. We need that. I don't know. I feel like some people might talk about Mando and kind of how he's a little bit of the background character of the season, even though it is technically his show, right? And you know, I can't argue against that point. I definitely feel that he is kind of sidelined a bit this season for sure. I think he's doing good in what they've given him so far. It does feel like they shouldn't have brought Grogu back yet, at least for this season. Because even him, he's not really... I mean, they put him in the IG unit, which is cool. It's funny, and I'm sure there'll probably be some cool moments next week with him in it. But, I mean, this season pretty much has been Bo-Katan and her trying to reclaim and rule Mandalore with the Darksaber, and probably most likely with the Mythosaur now, which is dope. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wish they found some other thing that Mando could have been working towards during this season. Because he got redeemed real quick at the start of the season. And then, you know, it just feels like there's something else that maybe were gonna do with him, and they plans changed for some reason, but now he's captured, so now he has to get saved again. So I mean, hopefully, whatever they decide to do with the season finale, it kind of gives him an extra boost going into the next season. Maybe he gets some kind of extra ability or some kind of upgrade to his character, and hopefully they kind of set him up nicely for what's to come next after this season. And same thing with Grogu too, because I really want to know what they have in store for Grogu going into the future, even though they still have a lot of time because he is still so young, and with all these announced timelines going forward with Star Wars at Star Wars Celebration and the Dave Filoni movie and the whole kind of Mandoverse with the TV shows on Disney Plus. There's a lot of time before Dave Filoni's movie comes out, and I'm assuming we'll probably end with that movie. But I think they have enough time to, really tell a nice story and kind of get us to a point to where we want to see exactly how everything ends, with Thrawn kind of being the Thanos of everything. I think Dave Filoni has a plan, and I think he's going to execute it well. And the whole story with Mandalorian and Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew and all these different TV shows finally concluding to a big time movie on the screen, I think it's going to be something that Star Wars fans are really going to like and have been missing for a while. Speaking of some other things, like at Star Wars Celebration, I missed talking about was the Visions Season 2 trailer. And if you haven't seen Star Wars Visions, the show where they kind of have like these animated shorts from different animation studios around the world, and Season 1 was dope. But this Season 2 looks even crazier with the different types of animation and just the way the trailer was put together. You could kind of really feel the story elements and just how, a lot of people, I feel like, still sleep on animation and the storytelling within animation TV shows and movies. And if you could like play in this sandbox of Star Wars and not have to make sure everything's canon and fits into a specific timeline or universe, and just tell like a cool, unique story with Star Wars, Visions, I think, can go on for a while. And the Season 2 trailer got me super hyped. I totally forgot about it, to be honest. I had remembered hearing about Season 2 coming out, but I didn't realize it was going to be that soon. And I'm pumped for it. What I'm also pumped for, but kind of sad about, is they finally announced Bad Batch Season 3, and it's going to be the final season. So we're going to see what happens with the crew and how their story kind of just comes to an end. I don't think I'm ready for it, but at the same time, I'm super excited because I really dug both seasons of the Bad Batch, Season 2 even more, and I'm sure they're going to top it with Season 3. And I know they showed an Andor trailer at Star Wars Celebration for Season 2, and I think that was just for them, specifically for the people at Star Wars Celebration. But I did watch some clips of like a leaked trailer of it, and it looked cool. It looked like they have a lot of it shot already, and for them to already have a trailer for them ready like that. It must mean production's going pretty well, and from what I heard, that people responded really well to it. I'll be excited for Andor season 2 once it gets closer. I think it'll be way better than season 1 and kind of give what people didn't like about Andor and kind of give them a little bit something to hang on to in season 2, while also just being a good storytelling TV show of Star Wars. And it just looked more darker and just kind of more intense from what I could tell from that leaked trailer. But yeah, still super stoked for that. Yeah, I think Star Wars is now, after this episode of Mandalorian, on even more on a roll now, coming off Star Wars Celebration. And if they could execute and deliver on the season finale, that leads right into Jedi Survivor, the video game, coming out this month. And so I think Star Wars is going to just try to keep that ball rolling with positive success and reviews from the fans. And hopefully they could carry it on to, whatever comes next after all this. But let me know what y'all thought of this episode of The Mandalorian, and what y'all thought on Star Wars Celebration and all that stuff that got announced. Drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, follow me on my IG at Admire My Moonsalt. Follow me on Twitch at Admire My Moonsalt. I'll be streaming Jedi Survivor for sure once it comes out on my Twitch. So go follow me on my socials. And yeah, just thank y'all for tuning in and listening. I'm really trying to, get on a real good groove with this pod. I feel like I've kind of made it a good habit, and just kind of keep the ball rolling from here, and continue to put out videos. Hopefully sometimes 2 a week, more consistently. But yeah, as long as stuff keeps happening in the world, I'll have some thoughts about it, and I'll hop on here and talk about it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's week. Y'all stay safe, and I'll catch y'all on the flip. Peace.